The Zodiac Copycat Killer phenomenon refers to a series of crimes that took place predominantly in the 1990s and 2000s, wherein the perpetrators emulated the infamous methods and patterns of the original Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer was a notorious figure who terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s and early 1970s, leaving behind a legacy of cryptic messages, taunting letters to the media, and gruesome murders. The copycat phenomenon emerged as individuals sought to mimic these notorious crimes, inspired perhaps by a macabre fascination or a desire for infamy. Understanding this phenomenon is significant as it highlights the pervasive impact of media glorification and the dark allure of criminal notoriety. The Zodiac Copycat Killer cases serve as a chilling reminder of how the portrayal of crime in media can inadvertently inspire subsequent criminal acts. This not only complicates law enforcement efforts, but also leads to public fear, confusion, and frustration. One example of the Zodiac Copycat Killer phenomenon is the case of Heriberto Eddie Seta, active in New York City between 1990 and 1993. Seta was captivated by the original Zodiac Killer and attempted to replicate his crimes by targeting random victims and sending cryptic letters to the police. Another instance can be seen in the 1997 case of a killer in Japan who wrote letters reminiscent of the Zodiac Killer's communication style, demonstrating how the influence of the Zodiac transcended borders. Opinions on this phenomenon suggest that the sensationalism surrounding infamous criminals can have unintended consequences. Some experts argue that detailed media coverage may provide a blueprint for disturbed individuals seeking recognition. However, others believe that thorough reporting is essential for public awareness and accountability. The challenges surrounding the Zodiac Copycat Killer phenomenons include differentiating genuine threats from attention-seeking hoaxes, placing additional strain on law enforcement resources. Moreover, there exists a controversy over whether media outlets bear responsibility for the actions of copycat killers, with debates centering on the balance between responsible journalism and the public's right to know. This phenomenon is closely tied to broader discussions on criminal psychology, media influence, and societal obsession with true crime stories. It underscores the interconnectedness of crime, media portrayal, and public perception, influencing how future crimes are viewed and responded to. Investigating this phenomenon offers insights into preventive measures and the evolving relationship between crime and media in contemporary society. The Zodiac Copycat Killer, emerging during the 1990s-2000s, drew direct inspiration from the infamous and elusive Zodiac Killer, who terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The original Zodiac Killer is a pseudonym for an unidentified serial killer responsible for a series of murders and cryptic communications that taunted police forces and the media alike. Known for his cryptograms and letters, the Zodiac Killer's mysterious persona has intrigued and horrified the public for decades, casting a long shadow over the cultural landscape. Understanding the historical background and infamous influence of the original Zodiac Killer is essential to grasping why and how a copycat killer emerged decades later. The initial reign of terror not only captured widespread media attention, but also instilled a sense of fear and intrigue that persisted well into the late 20th century. This infamous influence is significant because it underscores the continuing social and psychological impact that notorious criminals can exert over time. For instance, in the case of the Zodiac Copycat Killer, the replication of the original killer's cryptic communication style and murder methods demonstrates the enduring allure of the Zodiac's mystique and the perpetual human obsession with solving unsolvable mysteries. One real-world example of this influence is the resurgence of interest in cold cases related to the Zodiac Killer, prompting new investigative techniques and even the use of advanced forensic technology, like DNA profiling, in hopes of uncovering the killer's identity. Another example is the media's continued fascination with the Zodiac case, which has led to numerous books, films, and documentaries, perpetuating the mythos and providing fertile ground for those seeking to emulate the Zodiac's notoriety. However, this continued fascination is not without controversy. Critics argue that the glamorization of the Zodiac contributes to a culture where infamy is attainable through heinous acts, possibly inspiring copycat behaviors. Additionally, ethical concerns arise regarding the balance between public interest and the glorification of violent criminals. The historical backdrop of the Zodiac Killer directly influences the methods and motives of the Zodiac Copycat Killer, creating a chilling narrative of crime that stretches across decades. This connection highlights the potential dangers of idolizing criminals and the long-lasting effects they can have on society. As such, the intersection of past and present in criminal acts invites a deeper examination of the psychological and social dynamics that drive individuals to mimic such notorious figures. The emergence of the Zodiac Copycat Killer in the 1990s-2000s refers to a series of criminal acts that mimicked the infamous Zodiac Killer of the late 1960s and early 1970s. The original Zodiac Killer, never captured, was known for sending cryptic messages and taunting law enforcement with letters detailing his crimes. The concept of a copycat killer involves an individual who emulates the methods and signature elements of a previous, often notorious criminal, seeking recognition or thrill, and typically intensifying the challenges for law enforcement. The significance of the copycat killer in this context is multifaceted. It underscores the enduring psychological grip and allure of high-profile unresolved cases on society's collective consciousness. The Zodiac killings had become a cultural phenomenon, inspiring films, books, and a morbid curiosity. The emergence of a copycat decades later highlights how unresolved cases can influence criminal behavior and complicate efforts to maintain public safety. Specific examples include a 1990 case in New York where a series of letters reminiscent of the Zodiac's style were sent to local newspapers, raising alarm and media frenzy. The letters contained cryptograms and threats similar to the original Zodiac communications, although the individual behind these letters was eventually apprehended. Another instance occurred in Japan in the early 2000s, where a series of murders led to speculation about a Zodiac influence, especially because the perpetrator attempted similar cryptic communications with the media. Both cases illustrate the far-reaching impact of the original Zodiac's modus operandi, transcending cultural and geographical boundaries. Supporters of the idea that media representation of serial killers can inspire copycats argue that the sensationalizing of such criminals may inadvertently glorify them, creating a dangerous allure for those seeking notoriety. However, critics contend that copycat behavior stems from deeper societal and psychological issues and that media portrayal is merely a surface-level influence. A potential controversy arises from the debate over media responsibility versus individual pathology. Law enforcement faces additional challenges in distinguishing between genuine threats and attention seekers when dealing with copycats, complicating investigations. The emergence of a copycat killer influences law enforcement's strategies, necessitating updated training and protocols to address the unique complexities these cases present, such as distinguishing original acts from mimicry. It also prompts broader discussions on media ethics and the role of unresolved cases in the public consciousness, contributing to ongoing debates about transparency, privacy, and the public's right to information. The modus operandi and signature traits of the copycat refers to the specific patterns and distinctive behaviors that define the actions of the Zodiac Copycat Killer, drawing parallels to the original Zodiac Killer of the late 1960s and early 1970s. Modus operandi, MO, is a term used to describe the methods and techniques a criminal uses to commit their crimes, while the signature includes unique behaviors that fulfill the psychological needs of the perpetrator and are not necessary for the completion of the crime. The Zodiac Copycat Killer's MO might include particular choices of weaponry, targeted victim profiles, or locations, mirroring the infamous style of the original Zodiac. Signature traits may involve cryptic messages or symbols left at crime scenes, similar to the coded letters or taunting notes sent to newspapers by the original Zodiac Killer. Understanding the MO and signature traits is crucial, as they provide law enforcement with essential insights into the psychological makeup, motivations, and potential identity of the copycat. In deciphering these aspects, investigators can distinguish between different offenders, understanding whether a series of crimes are linked by a common perpetrator or are isolated incidents. This understanding can also help in predicting future actions and possibly thwarting further crimes. One notable example is when the Zodiac Copycat sent letters to local media outlets, mimicking the cryptic and taunting nature of the original Zodiac's communication style. Another instance is the choice of victims and geographical locations that were remarkably similar to the original's crime scenes, suggesting a deliberate attempt to mirror past crimes and perhaps play on public fear. Supporters of analyzing MO and signature traits argue that this approach can be invaluable in criminal profiling, providing patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. However, challenges arise due to the evolving nature of MO as criminals adapt to avoid capture, while signatures generally remain static due to their psychological impetus. Critics also caution that the focus on MO could lead to overlooking other potential evidence or motives. This point connects deeply to broader aspects of the Zodiac Copycat Killer's case by highlighting the complex interplay between imitation and originality in criminal behavior. It underscores the psychological underpinnings of why someone would emulate a notorious figure and the subsequent impact on public perception and media portrayal. Understanding the MO and signature traits not only aids in the pursuit of justice, but also enriches our comprehension of criminal behaviors and their societal influences.